Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cipher Session. My name is Yo.
Enrique.
I'm Manolo, the Abundant Alchemist.
How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. How you guys doing?
Excellent.
Good.
Welcome back, Enrique.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you,
man. How was
thank you, man.
Miami,
It
dude?
was good. It was good. Conference was really good. A lot of information out there for the crypto community. I know we were able to provide a day one video and a day two video. Day three was almost similar in a way. There was a lot of conversations around NFTs for the whole conference, but I guess it makes sense, right? Because NFTs are what's hot right now. That's what people are spending the most bucks for. They covered utilities of an NFT and what makes an NFT valuable, and that varies for the user and why they think they can find utility in a token. There was one lucky person. I thought it was fantastic. Under their seat, they had this ticket. They told everybody to check under their seat, and then if you pulled the ticket out, you actually get a ticket to space.
Wow.
So the person that won it will be going to space as a civilian. So they're going to train them,
Oh, wow.
and then they'll be able to go to space. So I thought that was fascinating. But the third day there was some panel discussions, a lot of conversations around NFT. One of my favorite tech guys in this space kind of took us home. He closed it out, David Schwartz, which I thought it was nice. He spoke a lot about a lot of good things on the XRP ledger. So yeah, the third day was just very packed with panel discussions, the winner to space, very NFT centric. They were even discussing something that I thought was just nuts. So they're thinking of the potential of making like space NFTs, if you will. Like I'll give you one example, right? So let's say you're trying to launch a satellite into space. Usually what they do now is if you don't have enough funds, you'll do some type of crowdfunding, and then that crowdfunding will give you the funds that you need to provide to get to the satellite to space. But if you think about it, what happens if you create an NFT where each NFT holder owns fractional portions of the satellite, and then they get revenue for whatever the satellite makes. So working with governments and other outside institutions, depending on what they need. You become a NFT holder, fractional satellite, and then you get revenues off that. I just thought it was interesting.
Crazy. Did they go over minting? What's it gonna cost or no?
No, they didn't get that deep. I think they was just touching over the concept itself. I mean, the panel was also talking about the regulations and how hard it is to do something like that. And so it was just a lot of these things in this conference are. There's a lot of companies there that are trying to do something for the crypto space, whether it be an exchange that's offering something that another exchange doesn't have, or someone's pitching an NFT. Like there was an NFT where you buy the NFT and then you own portion. You don't own portions, but what you're doing when you purchase the NFT is you're saving the rainforest. And so like
cool.
when you buy your NFT, you could wake up in the morning, and if it's raining in the rainforest, like you'll see rain on your NFT. If it's sunny, there'll be sunshine. So it's almost like real time. And then the more you interact with that NFT, it's like a living organism. So the more you interact, the more it grows. And it's just a way to preserve the rainforest, which I thought was
cool.
It's like a Gigapet 2.0.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
Very cool. So it looks like there was a lot of brainstorming.
What was your favorite part, Enrique?
Honestly, all of it. So I think that anyone that is in the crypto space, I think it's nice to go to one of these things if you have the opportunity to go. Because like I said, you're gonna hear about a lot of tech that maybe you didn't know about. You're going to hear the perspectives from different people as to where they think the market is going, where they think the tech is going, where you think regulation is going. But I also think it's important from a networking perspective, because then you meet a lot of people that are like-minded like you, and you get into these in-depth conversations about crypto, and you meet people that are veterans. They've been in this for a while. And it's just a nice atmosphere to be. If you're big into crypto, or even if you like crypto, it's a nice place to be, because you get like this, you get information about businesses, you get information about the industry, you get to meet people that are like-minded, and it's just nice. It's nice. It's a good event, and I think that the more people that go to these events, then those people will go back home and they'll be excited about the fact that they went to the event, and it'll just foster more crypto conversations, right? And so it'll help move the crypto space more mainstream.
I like it.
Very cool. Were there any like venture capitalists there looking for ideas?
VCs are huge in the space, and so just to give some background, there's a few coins, like I think, and I could be misquoting this, so don't quote me on this, but I think Ethereum launched at one of these conferences. So a lot of first time coins, because there are people there pitching coins, right? So if you go there and you're pitching a coin, and you have whales sitting in the audience that are willing to invest in your project, you can take your project off the ground, right? So there is a lot of VC or venture capitalists there. So it's nice. It's just it's a very nice space.
I love it. Glad you're back.
Yeah, glad you're back. Was there anything in particular that stood out of the 3 days that you were like, wow, I'm really impressed?
Anything that particularly stood out? I think just the fact that crypto, and I didn't know this prior to the conference, just the fact that the majority of people in crypto are minorities, and we covered that.
Right.
It's fascinating to me, right? Because there is this shift, I believe, in that crypto will give a lot of people opportunities. So I was talking to a gentleman there, and he said, well, but you know what? I don't know how my mother will be able to use tech like this. So it might be harder for someone like my mom to get used to this tech. And my reply to him, we were in the middle of a nice conversation. My reply to him was, it is what it is right now, because it's a very young tech. It's still evolving. But give this space 10, 15 years, most people will be interacting in this space and they won't even know what a blockchain is. So similar to the banking system, and we've covered that, most people don't know how the bank works. They just go, they deposit money. In the future, the technology will get to the point where you're interacting on various blockchains. Various blockchains are connected across the ether, but you don't even know what's going on in the background. What I told him was that I think is exciting is the fact that when this banking setup was starting from the ground up, there were no voices in the room. And he said, oh yeah, but we're not influencing this space. I said, yeah, but you're at least here trying to understand the technology. When the initial banking system was set up, there wasn't a JP Morgan conference where they let people know what they were doing and you were up on the tech. So I just think that the crypto space gives people the opportunity to take a part in the future. And I just said, look, just think about something. In the future, your kids' will be using this system and they won't even know what they're using. But you had the luxury of participating and making something like that possible by just getting, the knowledge out there for people to understand, and just making, pushing for crypto to be mainstream. So I think those are my biggest takeaways, is the fact that we're still so early. It's a space that's growing, and we're going to discuss a few articles later on in the show that I think those articles will show the reason why I'm so bullish in this space. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Very
well,
cool.
Speaking about the articles, I guess it'll be a good time to get into them.
Yeah, let's hop right to it.
First one. This is Google. You're soon going to be able to have your Google digital cards, and will enable users to hold Bitcoin and spend fiat. This pretty much basically means that it's going to allow people to pay use their Bitcoin that they're holding on their cards as a form of payment. What do you guys think about this?
Pretty big. That's huge. It's like, one of the 4 largest behemoths in the stock market, saying, we're into this and Bitcoin isn't going anywhere, and putting their machine behind it. I think it's huge. And we're seeing stories almost daily, it seems, where another company, another brand, or another country even is siding with Bitcoin. So I think this is just another bullish piece of news.
Yeah, I think
I love it.
for that other article, though, one other thing, I think that it's important that what's also happening is whenever you have these big companies stepping into this space, you're confirming the fact that it's reaching mass adoption, right? And so I like to think about, when I see an article like that, I almost think of the point where Netflix approached Blockbuster Video and said, look, we have this idea. Why don't you join us? And Blockbuster Video said no. And we all know what happened to Blockbuster Video, right? So it's a technology that's advancing at such an alarming rate that all of these big companies see the potential growth in crypto and digital assets in general. And so these large organizations that are already starting to pivot, in my opinion, those are the companies that'll still be here after a while, because they're making the conscious decision to shift towards that technology now.
I love it. Yeah, for sure. The next news that we want to cover, most of you probably heard about this by now, but Microsoft bought Activision. It paid $68.7 billion
Big chips
in fiat.
Nice. Chump change.
I think this is going to be pretty huge, especially for those people who complain about play to earn. If Microsoft ends up, going down that route, which I think they're going to have to, because people are going to go from, staying at home playing Xbox or PS5, whatever it is now, and not making any money, spending money, to they're going to see people on playing blockchain games who are, essentially getting paid to play. So I think it'll be pretty interesting to see, people getting paid to play Call of Duty. I might have to make a return, What do you guys think?
I would second that.
Go ahead, Manolo, finish up.
No, I was just saying, Call of Duty in the metaverse, or with NFTs, you being able to transfer guns, and it would be insane. I'd have to definitely schedule my days around Call of Duty.
That'd be pretty sick. What about you, E?
Yeah, it's an interesting space because I think what these companies are realizing is that, again, the way that I compare these crypto companies, right? You take a company like Gala Gaming's, which is heavy into the gaming industry. You take these crypto companies, if you will, existing companies have to get in line with what these other crypto companies are trying to do. Otherwise, they're going to get left in the dust, right? We live in a world where kids are playing video games now. Parents like me, I can attest to that. We're spending a bunch of money into the games for the kids. And at some point, our children are like, you know what? I don't really want to play this game anymore. And it's like literally just lighting money on fire, right? Because they can't take that money with them anywhere. But what some of these gaming crypto companies are going to do is they're aiming to allow people to, you put $20, you load $20 and you spend $10. You still have $10 that you can carry with you to another game. If you buy a skin or you buy something, you could sell it and make money. So you're actually buying assets in the gaming world that you can take with you, which is huge, right? And then you made you alluded to the play to earn. It's one of the reasons why I think this space is so fascinating. That alone is creating revenue for people. You're going to have kids that could probably, this is one of the points that they touched on in the conference. They said, you know, you're going to have kids that are 14 years old and they're supporting themselves just because they play video games, right?
Definitely.
And you're gonna be like, can I borrow $20? The other way around, right? So I think that's what the crypto space does, right? It makes everything so competitive, and you have these companies that have been operating in this vacuum for so long that it forces them to either pivot or they go away, right? So either they're going to absorb some of these crypto companies and apply the same thing, and then they're going to be doing the same exact thing, or they'll no longer exist. But these crypto companies that are springing up are going to provide people the ability to have extra revenue for themselves. You know, you're going to have kids making cash, learning about money at a young age. You know, I think there's a balance there with the metaverse, because you could also, it could get tricky where maybe you have a kid that wants to live in the metaverse too long and he loses touch with the physical world. So I think it's also just making sure that we don't completely let go of the physical space. But to that point, right, you're going to have people that want to live in the metaverse more than in their real life. So it just is what it is. It's an evolution of things. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to see, you know. If people complaining now about kids making a ton of money just off like tournaments, off of gaming, imagine what it's going to be like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the last article that we have for you guys is this
was unexpected.
Enrique, you sent this one. You want to set this one up?
So I think I'm beating a dead horse here, right? It goes to the same thing. You have technology that is changing the game. Innovation is just flying, right? And so what did we learn as a result of the pandemic? We learned that as a result of the pandemic, a lot of topics surfaced, right? There's banking the unbanked. There are people that don't have bank accounts all over the world, and they want to be able to reach the unbanked. And the pandemic brought to light the fact that the current system that we use is very slow. It's not convenient. And so you need something faster, right? A lot of these crypto companies have been working on this for years, and they're ahead of the game already. And so I think that the government has to take a pivot. They have to take the approach where they try to do something, or they become Blockbuster Video, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the federal government going to digital, we could talk about rationale behind why they would want to do that. You know, you have the ability with digital payments to have 24/7 payments transferring across the board. But I think the overall reason why they're going to a shift like this, right? I was on a call once and I asked a question where I phrased it as, and I'm not saying I made this up, I hear it, but I'm not saying I made this up, where I referenced China creating a digital currency, but the US hadn't mentioned anything about a digital currency. And so I viewed it as the modern day technological Cold War between the US and China to see who can have digital dollar capabilities first, right? So I think this is just one of those articles that lets you know that the government is paying attention to the digital space. And it makes sense to be able to send money real time. If you look at the way that everything is evolving right now, cash is evolving into a digital form. Reality is evolving into a virtual form.
Yeah.
Right? Everything is taking that approach. And so it's either you adapt or you get left behind. And so I think the government trying to go digital is just adding confirmation to the fact that we are moving towards a digital space, and the evolution of money is shifting at an alarming rate.
What about you, Manolo? What's your 2 cents or Satoshis?
My 2 cents. Well, I definitely think, the U.S. Should move with the times, especially when one of its, you could say, worldwide competitors are adopting this technology. And to kind of add on to what he was saying, I think this is a very important opportunity for the U.S. to kind of show how it's done the right way, because obviously with what the principles that China leads with may not be in the best interest of its citizens. And, that's another conversation, but I think it's very exciting times. And if the US does not adapt, it definitely will risk losing its foothold on being in the lead and being seen as a leader worldwide. It's a chance for it to
I
take the lead.
I
Sorry about
agree.
that.
No, it's all good. And I think it's definitely the way we're going. I'll give you an example. This past weekend, I left my wallet at work, and I just got around with this with my phone. I paid for the subway with this. I called an Uber with this. Bought my food with this. So I don't know. I just think it makes a total sense. And for anyone who's interested in reading the all 40 pages, like Enrique did, we're gonna link it in the description. And all right, I think it's time to go over some charts. What do you guys think?
Sounds
Do it?
good.
Yeah, Manolo, take us
Yeah.
show the people some charts, what you think about the market, where we're going, and
Yeah,
just
there were two.
Do you want this
Absolutely.
one
There were
first or the other
two.
one?
This is good. This is good. And I'm not sure if my alert interrupted the show. I apologize for that. Just letting everybody know, Ethereum just dipped below 3,000 as we were recording here.
Woo! Breaking news.
So definitely a chance to nibble if you still are bullish. But so what we're seeing here is a head and shoulders pattern, right? Which historically is a bearish signal. And this is on Bitcoin. This is thanks to Jordan over at Conquering the Markets. He's excellent with his work. And I was actually seeing this action yesterday as I was tutoring somebody. And I was already considering the right shoulder as the formation that we just kind of finished forming. But I did not consider that we could possibly be moving up towards a higher, a lower high, you could say. And then that could possibly form that right shoulder, which, as you could see in the picture, he boxes out as the danger zone. So it's just something to consider moving forward. I don't want to pump any fear, but I think as a responsible person here in the crypto space, I want to make people aware of what could possibly happen. And, this information comes day by day, and you have to be ready to pivot as new information is presented to us. So that's just one chart. The other chart, yeah, absolutely. Chime in, please.
Can I just ask you a question on that? When if we could go back to that chart.
Okay.
So when a viewer,
the prior one.
Yeah, the prior one. So when we mentioned something like head and shoulders, right? Just to give the viewers a little bit more background, I don't know enough. So is the concern that if we reach a certain point, then we're going into a bear market that could potentially last a few years? Is it a good time to accumulate? So like when you look at that chart, how would you explain it to the viewer? Like just break it down a little bit and say, all right,
Sure.
if we see this, we're in trouble for years, or there's a possibility that'll be a breakout. So this is a good time to accumulate.
Okay. Well, I'm not solely focused on technicals because I just think this is a very unique and interesting time that we're in. And that's just speaking broadly as well as in this particular chart, because looking at this chart and that formation, that would be bearish. But then as we see other things that are going on in the landscape, such as looking forward to possibly getting clarity on what crypto really is with this XRP case, I feel like there's a whole lot of companies that are just very eager to get into crypto, in particular Bitcoin. And the only thing that's keeping them from entering is clarity, right? On a legal basis. And I think this may be looking a whole lot different. I'm referring to the chart. Had we already had clarity, say last year or at the beginning of this year. But looking at this chart as we stand right now, I would say personally, I don't believe we are headed into years of bearishness. I stick by the kind of philosophy that we may be entering lengthening cycles. So it may take a little while longer before we rip up past 80, past 100. But what I would say, just looking at this chart, would be that as we approach the 56, 57, 58 mark, be cautious. We want to see solid support and possibly a lot more bullish news, such as the Google news. Maybe it would make me feel better as a trader / investor to hear of another country adopting Bitcoin as their currency or reserve, and seeing other companies dive in with more than just 1% of their total assets would kind of massage me into feeling more comfortable of hanging on to my Bitcoin at that range, if that's my trading Bitcoin. Otherwise, it would be alarming if I start seeing negative news and then people dumping. You don't want to just hang on to your bags unless you could afford it, risking a possible sub 40 downturn for a couple of months, where you much rather be accumulating rather than hanging on to your old Bitcoin.
And
those are just
Manolo,
my 2 cents.
and it's a normal thing, right, to see the bulls and the bears kind of battling, right? Like,
Yeah,
you don't always just see
absolutely.
it, the bulls just taking
Right,
over or the
right.
bears taking over.
Absolutely. That's why it's a little concerning when we take a look at legacy markets right now. It's definitely not natural. And the fact that people kind of lose their minds when on a day like this past week, we go down 2%. Like, the markets don't just go one way. You have people that sell, people that buy, and that's just natural movement. So I've said it before, I'm personally not feeling uncomfortable until we would start delving into the 39K range, 38K range. Then alarms will be going off in my mind, and I have to kind of set the plan in motion of what to do next. And yeah.
So can I ask you a follow up on that? Right, I think you touched on something that I think is you mentioned you don't want to be left holding the bag. With that, could you give your insight to a viewer that's in the crypto space, right? Because you have these ebbs and flows in the market, like you pointed out. But could you give some insight to the viewers of what's a good idea or a good strategy where, let's say, you're buying low and then you're selling high? What would you do with the profits?
Great question. All right. So say, for example, I've been accumulating, which I have at this range of about 40. We rise up to 57, and then I all of a sudden start connecting dots where it isn't looking good, and it looks like this is the local top for the foreseeable future, maybe 5-6 months. Personally, I would say diversify, and this is what I do. I'm not just bullish on one thing. I would personally say take your profits, You may want to keep them in stable coins. That would be the safest bet on a platform, for example, BlockFi, where you could earn interest passively as the market's doing what it does. And this would be particularly beneficial if we were in a confirmed bear market, because you could just hold your money, it'll be slowly growing, and then you could slowly dollar cost average as it's going down, which is what you want to do in a bear market. You don't want to wait for it to start going up and then you're just buying more expensive amounts of that given asset. I'm super bullish on the energy sector, in particular uranium. So you may want to look at that. It's an asset commodity that is very scarce, and we're coming into a sort of time where there's going to be less supply, much like Bitcoin, than there will be demand. So I'm super bullish on uranium, the energy sector. Of course, electric vehicles, batteries, silver. Not so much gold, but I am a silver bull. And I would say, look maybe for opportunities with NFTs, maybe look for opportunity. You have to kind of see what the narrative is at any given point. I don't know what's going to happen 3 months from now, but I'm pretty sure the way that this space is moving, there's going to be the next shiny object that if you get ahead of before the masses do and they get wind of it, you could end up making some nice amount of profit, even in a relatively bearish environment.
Well said. I think yesterday there was I can't remember the name, not yesterday, but during the conference, there was a company there that almost allows you to invest with them and they kind of allocate your portfolio. And one of the points that he touched upon was diversification, and how if you're properly diversified during a bear market, not all your coins suffer if you're moving them. If you diversify nicely, you could still, keep a well-balanced portfolio.
Absolutely.
So that's very well said.
We're both fans of Ray Dalio, and I would advise anybody, if they haven't already picked up the book, Money Win the Game, Tony Robbins, Ray Dalio. It's an excellent book, giving you an idea. And this is where I really formed my foundation as an investor. I'm nowhere near a seasoned, long time investor, but a lot of the basics and foundations of how I approach the market, I learned from Mr. Ray Dalio. Love that guy.
Yeah.
Yo, what about this last chart right here, dude?
Yeah, so this kind of adds on to, the weariness kind of that I have and how I'm looking at the markets. We seem to be currently respecting a trend line of resistance. As you can see, this is on the weekly chart. I've seen it being shown on the hourly and 2 hourly chart, but this is the same thing. So we see that, we keep on attempting to go up, and we meet that line up top, that straight line headed down from left to right. It's just resistance. And it seems that, right now we are unable to break through it. So what I would ideally like to see is for us to break past that line and maybe test the top of that line, right? We have the line.
Are you talking about the sorry, when you say the line, are you referring to which line? If I'm looking at the chart.
The vertical vertical line from left to right.
Okay.
That yellowish line.
Okay.
So we want to see a break through that line
to
the opposite side. Then maybe retest for support. So laying on top of that line, maybe a nice W formation on the daily chart or on the 4-hour chart would be a good indication of a time to get back in if you are a trader, or even if you're kind of standing on the sidelines waiting to see what Bitcoin does before jumping in. Once we break that trend line of resistance, would be a nice time to put a certain amount of your portfolio into this asset, I would say.
Nice.
And I just wanted to remind the viewers, we're not financial advisors by
Absolutely
any means,
not.
and so
Absolutely.
our views are our own. We just hope to share information with you guys, and hopefully you follow one of the most common phrases in the crypto space, which is DYOR, do your own research. You always have to make sure that with all investing, you're researching and not just taking anything to the letter of the law. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what else do you guys got for our viewers?
E has was gracious enough, and he has a surprise that I think everyone will enjoy, especially those in the Army. If you know what I'm talking about, you know I'm talking to you. He was gracious enough to get us a exclusive content. So hopefully we'll be breaking that down. E, do you want to pitch a little bit? Maybe give him a little tease. Oh, hold on, E. I think you're muted, E.
Oh, sorry
you go.
about that. It's a
It's
good
right.
video by one of my my favorite chief technical officers in this space. Super smart. He breaks down the technology of one of the tokens and what that token is hoping to accomplish. Johan made a reference to the Army. The Army knows who the Army is. But we'll be going into more depth maybe on a future video on providing the content and maybe going over what we think he's talking about and the potential of this space.
Cool, man, and thank you, man. I really excited to watch it.
Good stuff.
Yeah. All right, Manolo, you want to bring us out, dude?
All right, guys, please like, share, and subscribe. As always, we look forward to another video. We have something coming to you fairly soon. I'm Manolo.
I'm Johan.
Enrique, Cipher out.
Peace.